Alright, so in this video we're going to go over maintenance on this DTF Mini, and we're going to go over some of the controls as well that are on the panel. So this will be beginning of day maintenance and end of day maintenance as well. Okay, so at the end of the day, you're going to want to do what's called wet capping, but you've also got to do the maintenance and clean everything from the printing for the day on the capping station. Your wiper blade is part of your capping station, your sliders. Okay, to start off with, at the front of your machine, you have two panels. So this is your cleaning bay for your head. So you move your head over to here, and this will be your head cleaning bay. And under here, you remove this panel, and this is your this exposes your capping station. So this is your capping stations and your wiper blade. And on the other side, I'll show you in a second, that's how we can get into the side from here. So from this point here, this is your night maintenance. So at the end of the day, when you're done printing and you've got a bit of a mess here and your capping station's dirty, you've got to clean your heads, and then we've got a wet cap. So to start off with, I usually remove the panels, or sometimes I keep these off, just keep this exposed, and then hit left on your control panel on your printer. So hit the left button, capping station will go down, and your head will start to move to the left, and you're going to move it over into your head cleaning working bay. So we'll move that over. Okay, so now we have this here ready to clean our head and the surface around the head. And now we have our capping station exposed, so we can get in there and we can clean our capping station as well. Okay, so once you have your head moved over into your head cleaning bay and you have your capping station exposed, you're going to want to make sure you have a squirt bottle with distilled water in it, okay? And I use the old, with our inks, an old ink bottle, or you can get one from the dollar store or anywhere. Just grab a squirt bottle. I like to use these ones because it gives a little more pressure into the capping station, which I'll show you soon. So you need distilled water, water bottle. You're going to need a water bottle with moisturizer in it. You're going to need a cup with a few foam tips in it as well. And you're going to need your clean room wipes. And I would also have some paper towel on hand as well. We use the shop towels here, but we also use paper towel as well. So have those things on hand, and that's what you'll need for the evening maintenance of your machine. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is just kind of, you don't need a lot. I usually conserve my paper towels and stuff, so I'll just kind of rip it in half, and even sometimes in four, just to maximize the use. And then what you do is wipe down your side blades here, so your sliders that hold the film. Make sure those are nice and wiped down. Each side, wipe those down. And you can just discard that. And so after you wipe those down, we're going to move over to the capping station first, and then we'll get to cleaning our head. Okay, so here's the capping station. There's a door at the back here. And the side, it opens. So you just go over to the door, kind of press down on this, and then just push back gently on this, and the door will open. And that exposes your capping station here. And now I'm going to show you how to clean that right now. Okay, so to start off with, there's a lot of ink that gets around the outside of the capping station and onto your wiper blade as well, and onto the ground plate where the capping stations sit on. So all this gets exposed to ink from the flashing, and from going back and forth, of course, in the wiper blade cleaning. So this is all of what has to be cleaned here in the capping station. So you grab your distilled water with some foam tips, squeeze it out, squeeze out all the water, and just wipe. I start with the wiper blade and clean off the ink and let the foam tip sort of absorb it in there, and sort of do a couple of strokes there, get the top of it, then rinse it and repeat. And you go to the front. Now sometimes it's hard to get in from here. You can go in from the side as well. I'll show you. Just sort of reach in the side, because the side panel is now open. So now you can come in here, and now I can get right in there and I can clean the back side of my wiper blade. And again, just keep rinsing it off and repeating it, because you're going to get ink on it. And right now, all we're doing right now is just wiping it down and clearing the ink before we moisturize it. So we start off by just cleaning it off nice. Make sure you get rid of all the ink. You're going to clean around your capping stations as well. Make sure you get all that. Around here. Here. Okay. And now once you get all that, once you get the ink from around the capping stations and your wiper blade, wipe the front of the wiper blade too, the metal part there. It gets some ink on it sometimes. Just give that a good wipe. And then around the sides, so on the actual ground plate. So on the plate the capping stations sit on, give that a wipe as well. You're not going to get all the ink all the time, but get as much as you can get. So now that we have around the capping stations wiped down, we're going to do what's called flushing out the capping stations so we can clean. So inside the capping station is a sponge, and before we wet cap and put moisturizer in there to wet cap for the night, we're going to take out the ink from the sponge so that when we put the moisturizer in, it doesn't sit in the residue of ink. So we clean out the sponges and the capping station. So we do what's called flushing them out. So we've got to trick our printer head into staying there, and I'll show you the process for that. And this is the part where you need your distilled water bottle, and we're just going to continually clean it out, and I'll show you that now. And yes, I did see I got a little bit there. So if you do make a little mess while you're cleaning or something splashes somewhere, just make sure to wipe it up. Okay, so in order to flush out the capping stations, we've got to trick our head. So while the head's over here, there's a sensor there. It's a little like U. So all you have to do is get something stuck in between there to actually stop it. So I use a folded up piece of tinfoil tape, and as long as it goes inside and blocks that sensor from going on, then you can actually trick the head into staying there. So what I do is I just sort of stuff that inside there, right through it. And what that'll do is, now that it's stuffed through, we'll make the head stay there, and it won't move. So then you go over to your control panel and you hit End Power. That'll bring up a menu. Then down, down, down to Head Maintenance. Enter. Down, down to Fill Ink. Enter. Then to Head. Enter. Now the head will stay there, but the capping station will continuously suck as if it was loading ink. So now you can take, let me back up a little here. You can take your water bottle, and inside you can continually squirt this in. So just keep squirting your water inside the capping station. Very gently, don't squirt it too hard or it'll squirt out. You'll get a little bit out sometimes, that's okay, just get it with a foam tip afterwards. So just keep going around the capping station and just flushing that sponge out inside, getting rid of all the ink in there so that when we wet cap, it's in clean moisturizer. And you're not going to get it all after time. You will get a little bit of residue, but you're trying to maximize the amount of ink that you get out. So you just keep doing that. Now it stops after like 60 seconds. You can squirt a little bit in there and see if there's residue left. And if there is, just continually squirt some. And don't be afraid to push down a little bit on the capping station. Just a little bit to squeeze some ink out of there. Just a little bit. But just for the most part, just squirting inside there with your distilled water until that's cleared out. And then after that's cleared, once you have it cleared, you can see the lines are clear too pretty much. You can take some moisturizer, just very little bit before you stop it. Just drop some moisturizer inside, just to get all the sponge and everything inside there moisturized through the lines. Just a little bit, not too much. And then you can stop it now. So from this point, you go over to here, you hit cancel, and then just end power again, and that'll bring you back to your beginning status. If when you're doing the cleaning and too much, like once your distilled water gets like too inky, just go and rinse it out. And you can reuse these, just rinse these out until they get like, you'll see them get really bad with ink and discolored, but you can reuse these a couple of times if you don't get too much ink on them. Just squeeze them out and then put them in clean water. Okay, so we finished flushing it out. I spilt a little bit out of it, no big deal. You'll spill a little bit, like I said, don't squirt too hard, but you might get a little bit on the outside of it, which is fine and normal. Okay, just give that a wipe down. Again, just rinsing off the distilled water and kind of just running across and cleaning up any little bit of a spill or splash that you made, sort of thing, on the capping station or the surrounding area, of course. Got a little splash down here. Just kind of want to get in there. Down here. Just all around the capping station there. So, there we go. So now that those are all wiped, what we're going to do, and we're done flushing that out, is we're going to prepare for wet capping with it. So what we do first is you're going to take moisturizer and your foam tip, and you're going to soak inside. So let's back up a bit. You're going to soak inside the foam tip. So just squeeze your moisturizer bottle into it. It might drip a little bit, which is fine. You don't squeeze it right out. I just squeeze it out a little bit so it's not like dripping. And then I'll come in from behind here, and what we're going to do is start with the wiper blade, moisturize the wiper blade. Get that nice and moisturized, the front and back. Get right to the metal. Get the whole wiper blade. You want the whole thing moisturized. And then after you do that, you can rinse that off. Put a little more moisturizer in. And then just do around the rubber on the capping station where your head sits, so that that's moisturized, just around the outside and stuff there. Just on the top for sure. And then once you get that done, you can you can wet cap. So take your moisturizer bottle, bring it inside. there's like a honeycomb in there. So what you're doing is you don't want to overfill it so it's overflowing. But you want to fill all the honeycombs until you see like a flat surface of moisturizer. So once all that's full, then you're ready for wet capping. Now you may see a little residue, which is fine. A little bit of residue is okay. So now we're going to move over to our head. But before we do that, we're going to untrick it so that when we return the base, we don't forget about removing what we just did with the sensor. So we're ready for wet capping. A little bit of residue is okay. Like I said, just get as much as you can get out, really flush it out good. So from this point, you're ready to actually untrick your head. You want to make sure that you remove that you block from the sensor. So just remove that. Your head will still stay there. It's not going to move anywhere. And now when we push, the last button to push to return it to wet cap is origin. But that's the last step we do. But we pull this out so we don't forget. So just pull out what's blocking the sensor. And now we're ready to actually get under here and start to clean underneath our head to get that all clean. So I'll show you how to clean around there. Okay, so there's two ways into this cleaning station. So you can clean from this side, and you can also go on the side here, again, pushing down, flipping that up, gently pushing that sideways. It doesn't take a lot of force. It's very nice and easy. Open the side panel, and now you have your head exposed here as well, and we can wipe all in here. So I'm going to get the camera angled, and I will show you how to clean your printer head in the surrounding area. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here, and these will be your printer heads here, and I'm going to show you how to clean around the printer heads and the surrounding areas. So you're going to need some foam tips for this one in clean distilled water. You're going to need your moisturizer bottle, and you're going to need your clean room wipes for this part. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take a sponge, or your foam tip, sorry, and you're going to wring it out completely. And then we're going to start off by cleaning the sides. So these here are little protectors, these metal that sticks out. You're going to want to make sure you clean all around the sides of that. And you can put as much pressure here as you want. Just be really careful not to touch the head. You're going to want to get both sides, and again, not going near the head. And you're going to want to get straight down the center, not going near the head yet. Straight down the center. And just get as much ink as you can. With the clean room wipe, we're going to get any remainder, but you just want to get the chunky stuff that's around it. So just get all of that off. Sometimes it gets on the sides. Get it off the sides. Anywhere that you see ink, sort of just wipe it down. And now we're going to work on the other side, but I've got to come in from this way. So you can only get so much from this side, and then you've got to come in from the other side to actually get all into the back side here, all into under here, over here. So I'm going to change the camera angle and show you that, and then we're going to we'll go from there. Okay, so now we're in the side panel. I'm just going to zoom in there so you can kind of see what's going on. Let me get a little closer. Right there. Back up just a hair. Okay, so now we got both heads exposed there. So now on the right side, it's really close to the head, and you've got to really get in there. So what you're going to do is take your foam tip, you're going to wring it out, and you're just going to squeeze some moisturizer inside that foam tip, and squeeze moisturizer in. Don't have it dripping, but do have quite a bit in there. And then what you do is sort of just wipe the back side of beside the printer head. Wipe the back side there. And if you touch the head a little bit by doing it, it's okay, because this is full of moisturizer now. So the really tight spots that you might hit the head, you're going to want to make sure you have moisturizer on. Otherwise, to get around here and to scrub all this, you can have distilled water, but do not touch the head with distilled water on it. Just wipe around the sides of the head with the distilled water, and it wrung out. But when you're getting in close, you're going to want to definitely have it moisturized, so that if you touch the head by accident, you have it moisturized and it's not dry, so it won't clog it. So once you have the sides done, moisturize the tip. And again, you're not going to get all of the ink off, but get it for the most part. Some of it will stain over time, but get as much as you can off with the foam tip. And then what you do is you moisturize your foam tip. Again, just soaking it, and not letting it drip. Just enough to fill your sponge tip, so that's full of moisturizer. And then what you're gonna do is come around, and on the sides, there's a little gap groove there. Just press inside there beside the printer head, and that will clean the crevice right in beside the printer head. And you do the other one as well. The other one's easier to come backwards, so kind of get used to going back and wipe backwards. Or if you figure out a way to do it frontwards, I just find it easier because of where it is to go backwards. But as long as you're wiping that and getting any a little bit of a stain is fine, but you want to get the big chunks of ink that are stuck in there and get those out of there. And now you can take your clean room wipe and just get this down, back it up a bit. Take your clean room wipe, you're going to fold it into 4, and then you're just going to soak it over your cup with moisturizer. And make sure it's completely soaked with moisturizer and wring it out. And this is where we're going to wipe our printer head now. Okay, so now we have our clean room wipe folded up and wrung out with moisturizer, so it's completely moisturized. And you're going to go and use each side of it, sort of thing, and kind of fold it up to get in the corners. But essentially you're wiping the sides here and the other side here and in the middle and on the sides here on each side. So I start off by kind of working my way to the back, from the back, and I'm going to go in from the other side actually and show you how I do that side. But for the front side, I'll come in from this side and I'll just go back and forth here, and not touching the head. If a little bit of the cloth touches it, it's fine, because it's a clean room wipe. It's like a microfiber and it's moisturized. So just get as much as you can off the front here, and then I'll switch the angle and show you how I do the other side as well. We'll wipe off that, make sure there's no ink residue left there. And with the clean room wipe, it gets in there really well with it. So just make sure that you're getting all inside there. And then I'll get in the middle as well. I'll show you from the other side, the middle. And then you move in and do the back side now. Let's get to a different angle. Okay, so now you do the back side. So again, you can take this and kind of fold it in a way where you can kind of get it on the side and not touching the head so much. You'll have to get used to that, like getting the folds right. And then you can wipe the back side of that or along the side of the rail there. And again, if you touch the head a little bit by accident, it's okay. Just a little bit with the clean room wipe. But just use your fingers and kind of press with your finger. I'm just pressing here, so let me get a clean spot. And I'm just using my finger to kind of press and go along it, along the side. And then again, in the middle. I want to get in the middle. And then get up and down here. And then along, of course, the front side here. Just get along the front. And then once around your heads are clean, get a little bit of the back side there. And if you get any mess here, you can just take a paper towel. You can even use some blue or moisturizer to just put a little bit on there, just distilled water, wring it out, and then just sort of wipe accordingly. And then it comes out nice and clean. So as long as you maintain that every time, you should definitely have a clean part here as well. So that's the head side. So now we've removed the sensor, we've cleaned our head, we've cleaned our heads, the surrounding area, so we're ready to wet cap at this point. So let's take you and do that. Okay, so now the heads are clean, we're ready to wet cap. We've got our moisturizer in there. A little bit of diluted ink is okay. We've got rid of it for the most part. Again, you're not going to get rid of it all the time. Wiper blade is moisturized, so we are ready to wet cap this now. So moisturizer is inside, waiting to be wet capped. So what you do is you go over to here and you just push origin. And it brings it back to its original position. And now it is wet cap for the night. Okay, so after you wet cap, you can close your doors. Come over, close your other door. Down nice, like that. You put these back on if you want. Put those back on. Put this down if you want. And that's it. The DTF Mini is put to bed for the night. Okay, morning maintenance on your DTF Mini. So just start off by opening up your panel if you have it shut, your front panel. Come on over to your controls. Just hit the cleaning button because you're wet capped from the evening before. So now you're always wet capped when you start. So you want to clear that out and clean the heads. So just hit the cleaning button and it'll clean your head. You can take the panel off if you want to watch it. So let that do its cleaning, and then we'll get on to the next step. Okay, so once your head's finished cleaning, it'll go back to your beginning status. You're going to make sure on each side that your side sliders are on each side of the film properly so that there's no flip ups or mishaps. And then once you get those set properly, you're going to feed just forward just a little bit to make sure that the film and everything is going through okay. There we go, it's going through nice and smooth. As long as there's no catch-ups or hiccups, you just want to make sure, just a little push to make sure, again, one more. There, so it's going through nice and smooth. Sliders are nice and in place. And we're ready to do a nozzle check at this point. So we want to do the cleaning, and then we do a nozzle check to see how our nozzles are on our printer head. So to do that, you're going to go over to your Print XP. You're going to come up to your settings. Sometimes the margins go out. So you just want to make sure that that's set to 0 or 10, just to make sure that it goes on the film, whatever your margin's set at. Sometimes when you put film in, you got to change this a little bit to justify where the beginning of the print is. which is normal after changing film if you don't get it in the exact right spot. So I put it at 10 just to be safe. But you'll more than likely be 0 or 3 or whatever it is. And then you just hit your check button. So just hit check, and what it'll do is it'll perform a nozzle check, and we'll see how our heads are doing and see if there's any clogging. So hit check. Your head will go down for your capping station. And then it performs a nozzle check. Check looks like it's good. As you can see how it went on the, see how it went on the silver a little bit? All that means is that we just need to move the margins over a little bit. So let's do that now. So if you ever see that and wonder what's going on, you're just gonna go over to your margins. You're gonna click on it, and we'll put that up to about 15. Oops, let's change that to 15. So we'll move it up just a couple of millimeters, and then we'll do another check. So let's do another check. You can move down from here too. So on the controls here, you can move the film ahead a little bit. So if I click ahead here, it'll move it ahead just a little bit to get it past that little bit of ink that was there. So now we can click check. At 15 millimeters now, and it should bring us off of the metal. And it didn't, see? Nozzle check looks good though. No breaks. Nozzle check looks nice and clean. Sometimes you'll see little breaks, like there's a couple in cyan there. You'll see a couple of breaks like that, which is normal. Just do another cleaning and it should clear those up. And as you can see, our margins are set to 15. Let's push those over a little bit and do one more nozzle check. But I'm gonna do a cleaning first, and we're gonna clean up that cyan. So we'll come back over to here. We know we need to move over a little bit more, and our cyan has a little bit of clog. So let's move that over to 20. Let's see how 20 does. Even 25. Let's go 25. Just see how far that puts us. And you can adjust accordingly to yourself, and you'll get that one sweet spot, and then just remember that number. So we're gonna go over to clean from here, and we're gonna clean one more time. So hit clean, both heads, and then you can just go to normal or weak. You don't have to do a strong. So I'm gonna do a normal clean. We'll let the head do a cleaning, capping station cleaning. Okay, so now that that's clean, we've set our margins a little bit farther. I'm gonna move it ahead a little bit. Let's just move that ahead. Move the film ahead a bit. And then I'm gonna perform another check. So another nozzle check. So now let's put our lines there. And our lines there, and our heads look good now. Okay, so our margins are good. We could probably go back a couple, so I'll do that now. There's still a couple of breaks in the cyan, some different spots, so it's definitely cleaning up. So I'm just gonna do one more cleaning, and that should clear up. So let's do that now. And we're gonna set the margins back just a little bit, a couple of millimeters to get it right beside that metal. And that's where our print will start. So it's at 25 now. Let's try 20, 23 and see where that brings us. And then we're gonna do one more cleaning. So we'll go to cleaning. Just do a weak clean. Just give it a weak clean. You don't have to go strong. Just one little quick tip. Sometimes when you're printing a lot, your wiper blade will get some ink on it. or sometimes when you're performing nozzle checks, if you have ink on there, it'll actually affect your nozzle check. So what I do is I'll just leave it kind of stationary where it is. I'll wring off a foam tip, and that's with distilled water. So wring off the distilled water. I just sort of give it a wipe on the outside and get on the inside if you can get in there. Just give it a quick wipe, and then after you wipe it like that, just soak it in moisturizer. You don't have to, well, just fill it with moisturizer. So kind of just put your foam tip on and squeeze a little bit, and you'll see it sort of fill up. You don't have to overflow it. Just enough to get some moisturizer on there. And then just moisturize your blade. Just give it a nice moisturizing. It's always good to keep this moisturized and clean. Very important. As well as your capping station. Okay, so it's done cleaning. Moisturize the wiper blade. We set the margins down a little bit. So that's basically like the start of your print, like where it starts. And this line here that shows up along the side is just, it basically drops ink when it's printing. So the colors that it's not using, it'll still drop it here to keep your nozzles and your channels exercising while it's printing as well. So it definitely minimizes your clogs. So we have this line of color that comes down, and it keeps all your nozzles and your channels in check. Okay, so the weak clean's done. Margins are set to 23 over a little bit. Just gonna move the film ahead a bit from the last nozzle check. And then I'm going to hit check. And so now that cleared up. Got a few breaks there, but it cleared it up. You can see from the last check, all the breaks that were in there. And that cleared that up. It's okay to print like that. That's completely normal. Another cleaning will clean that up. You could do a weak clean if you wanted to, but it is okay to print at this point. So those little bit of breaks are okay. And see, that one was there. And then a couple more came in, which is normal. The original one was at the top and it moved. So that's normal to see a couple of breaks every now and then. But if it starts to get ridiculous with a ton of breaks, like more than this, even like that, you still have to clean out a bit just to get rid of those to make it where it's just a couple. But yeah, if it starts to get all breaky like that all the way across, that's when you got to start wet capping in blue. And then those are lots. They're not necessarily clogs. They're just like, they are clogs, but not like hard clogs yet. So if you catch it early and wet cap in blue, you can maximize the life of your head. Okay, so that's your nozzle check. So basically after you hit your cleaning in the morning, just perform the nozzle check. If it looks good, go right ahead and start printing. And if it needs another, if there's a couple of clogs and it needs another cleaning, just hit the weak clean and you will be good. Okay, so if you ever have to wet cap in blue, you're gonna grab a syringe with about a 3-inch piece of hose, and then you're going to stick it in, suck it out, and then you're gonna go over and wet cap, and we'll do that now. Okay, so you're gonna come over to your capping station. You're going to squeeze ever so gently, and it's as if you're squeezing the moisturizer in, and you just squeeze in enough blue to, again, just fill the bottom of the capping station. Don't overflow it. Make sure all the honeycombs are full and that it's exceeding it a bit so that it touches the head and so that it sits wet capped in your head. After you get your blue in, you can put this back into your container and save it. Okay, so once you get it wet cap in blue, you just again hit the origin button, and then it'll move your head back into place, and it'll be wet capped in blue.